Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're going to give it a few minutes, but welcome to College Essay Do's and Don'ts. My name is Christine. We have Susan here. We're going to let everybody log in and then we will go ahead and get started. But thank you to those of you who are prompt at 7 o'clock. You will see an Applerouth Tutoring Services welcome poll pop up as you log in. There are two questions that hopefully you know the answer to, asking if you are a parent, guardian or a student or educator, and asking what grade you are in or your student. So that poll will be up for a few seconds once you do join. So feel free to answer those two questions because we love to see who is here with us today. And again, we'll just give it a few minutes. We'll get started at 7:03. I see a few more people joining, so we'll give it a couple more seconds. Thank you again to everybody who is here. This is a very, very powerful, action-packed, info-packed workshop. So you are sure to get a lot out of tonight. This is going to be a very valuable hour for everybody. So you made a wise choice being here on this wonderful Wow Writing Workshop Wednesday. All right, so if you're just joining us, feel free to answer those two questions about who you are and what grade you or your student are in. And we will go ahead and get started. So I'm Christine. I am a partnerships director here at Applerouth Tutoring Services. So I have the pleasure of getting to connect with wonderful partners like Susan, who is tonight's presenter. And before I turn it over to Susan, I just wanted to share our why at Applerouth of why we wake up in the morning. Because when you change students' lives and their self-beliefs, you really do change their lives. We just love that when we believe in kids and we believe that you change the way that they think about themselves and giving them their self-confidence and their self-efficacy, you change their whole entire trajectory, not just through high school, but through college and beyond. We get to teach to the whole entire student with our Applerouth philosophy that was created by Jed Applerouth, our founder, 20 years ago, when we were a true single shingle with Jed as our only tutor 20 years ago. And it's not just boring rote memorization. A student can know every single SAT or ACT or academic or AP strategy, but still get psyched out on test day. But if you get a child to start believing in themselves, it's amazing watching their skills grow in school, on test day, and in life. So that's why we have academic tutoring, AP tutoring, starting on Monday, the 13th. This Monday, we're going to have some AP final review workshops. Those are all listed on our website if you missed our last round of AP workshops. So we have our final reviews coming up. And we do test prep, of course, not only for the SAT and ACT, but all of the those smaller tests like the ISEE, HSSPT. So if you're going to Catholic school for high school and you need to get into that, PSAT. And we also do executive function coaching. So you can get motivated to be organized and to thrive and master those 6 core skills that form your foundation of success, like planning, organization, attention, flexibility, time management, stuff I could have used when I was a student. So I want to do executive functioning for adulting. But before we get into that and to the bulk of tonight, I also wanted to let you know that coming up next month to bookend Cinco de Mayo, even more exciting than that holiday, is an academic holiday, May 4th and May 6th. May 4th, that Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, we are hosting, and you can go ahead and fill out this poll if you want us to register you. Check off that item off of your to-do list for either or both of these. So just say yes. And if you do put a yes, of course, please give us your email address so we can register you. May 4th, we are bringing in 4 experts to give you this data-driven breakdown where we're going to explore some shifts in acceptance rates across various selective colleges, the growing impact of early decision, when test scores did and didn't help, and how your intended major even influenced admissions decision outcomes. So this is going to be very, very interesting about 2026 college admissions results and how to craft your applications. That's going to have Bob and Lisa Carlton, Amanda Edelhart, and our very own Jed Applerouth, a nationally recognized test prep expert. And then the day after Cinco de Mayo, Wednesday, May 6th, also at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have the people who then receive and review those applications that you've so carefully crafted. And they're going to talk about those policies that seem to change daily these days on test optional and test preferred, and how test optional does not really mean do not submit your test scores, and how colleges view AI, the hot topic today, in applications. And again, the role of your intended major in your academic direction in college, and why the depth in your extracurriculars actually does matter. So again, feel free to fill out that
Christine,
poll.
I
Yes.
apologize. I'm going to step in real quick. You're not sharing your screen. If
I'm
you
not.
could put up the slide right quick, the good people can see what you're talking about.
Oh,
Amazing. Thank you.
no. I'm so sorry. Can you see it now? Can you see it?
Yes, it's great.
Okay. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries.
All right. So yes, so those are our 2 webinars. I'm so sorry about that. Yes, but feel free to fill out the poll if you want us to register you for those. Here are the very 2 exciting screens you missed before that. More circles. More circles. All right. And so these are the webinars on May 4th and 6th. My apologies if you were chatting me. I was staring at this beautiful screen that I thought you were staring at as well. But I'll let you check out those for another minute. And now, without further ado, we have Susan. She is our expert tonight with over 30 years of experience and a much better screen sharing prowess than I have. Susan has taught creative writing and composition at both high school and collegiate levels. She is the CEO and co-founder of WOW Writing Workshops, creating the WOW method, a simple 10-step process for writing college essays. Thousands of students, counselors, independent educational consultants, and essay experts have used the WOW method to master the essay writing process. Student is a former executive speechwriter and copywriter, a published poet and essayist, and holds a BA in psychology from the University of Michigan and a Master of Fine Arts in Writing from Vermont College. So she's going to tell you all about how a great college essay can help you or your student stand out. So over to Susan.
Thank you. Now I'll switch and I will share my slides. Here we go. All right, let's change that to slideshow. Here we are. All right. Thanks, Christine. It's so good to be here with you today. College essay do's and don'ts. That's our topic for this evening. And I want to answer your questions. I want to bust some of the myths. I want to make sure you have good, strong information so that you or your student are ready to apply to college with solid confidence. So this is my team. You saw that picture of me. You now see me in person. This is my team of coaches. My coaching team has been with me for 10 years or more approximately. We are a solid team. We are a small company. We work with students. We still have a few spots for college essay coaching students. If anyone's interested, I will put my phone number and email up at the end. But the great thing about having such a wonderful team is that we are also able to train professionals. So we train the school counselors and the independent consultants and the tutors and the writing coaches that some of you may already be working with. So the WOW method has been around for about 17 years. Like I said, we're a small company. We're intentionally small, but we have a very broad reach. We work with students all over the world. We work with our colleagues all over the world. In fact, I even did a session for admissions officers a couple weeks ago because they know that I know how to tell them how to explain what they need to you, the students and the families, in a way that you will actually be able to deliver what they want to see. So we are very widely recognized. We're involved with a lot of different organizations that may or may not be the most important thing. But I want you to know that everything that I will share with you is completely vetted and confirmed. I talk to admissions officers all the time. And the company was started by me and also a partner who retired last year. So she had 16 years with us. I've been here for 17. She's a former journalist, and she made sure that everything we ever share with anyone is completely true. We don't just read it or say we heard this or we think this is right. We go to the source. So you can trust us. My background is in instructional design. Like Christine said, I'm a writer, I'm a writing teacher. And because my background is in designing instruction, I'm an expert in how students learn and also in how adults learn and how adults who are not teachers and not writers can be writing teachers and can take this task and share their expertise with anyone. So that's a little bit about us. If you have more questions, of course, I'll be happy to tell you more about our services anytime. So what is a college essay? It's your story told in your voice in your words. Now, this might sound simple. Oh, great. I can tell a story. What's my voice? I don't know, whatever. What words do I use? My words are okay. They're not great. I love them. I don't love them. But I want you to remember this. Your story is what matters. Told in your voice, the writing voice you already have. You may not think too much about it. Told in your words. What that means also is do not let anyone over edit your work. Your words are the ones that admissions officers want to hear. So I'm going to show this slide a couple times. This is our book, How to Write an Effective College Application Essay. Why do we use the word effective? Why don't I say how to write an exceptional college application essay, how to write a standout college application essay, how to write an application essay that will get you into the college of your dreams? Why? Because effective is actually the word we need. Effective, an application essay that does its job. Because every essay has a job to do. And I'm going to teach you what that job is and how to do it. So don't get wowed by people who will tell you, I can help you get into Princeton with the best essay ever, or this is the kind of essay they want to read at the University of Michigan. I will tell you every time I talk to an admissions officer and I ask them, what do you want me to tell my students? They say, will you tell them to answer the question and not try so hard to impress me? Because you're impressive already. Your qualifications are already in the application. They want to see an effective application essay, and I'll tell you more about what that means. So here are the myths. We're going to take the myths and bust them open with some facts. One, admission officers don't read them. Not true. Colleges look for specific traits. Not true. Essays should be polished, especially now in the age of AI. This is not true. They don't want them to be sloppy, but they don't have to be perfect. Myth number 4, impressive topics will stand out. And myth number 5, here are the things you should never write about: sports, religion, race, mental health, service trips, da da da. I mean, we can always talk about politics, anything controversial. Also not true. It's not what you write, it's how you handle it and why you want to write about it. So let's take a look at these. Myth number 1, admissions officers don't read them. I have quotes for you from various prestigious colleges, from the University of Michigan. We read each writing opportunity. We want to put it in context with what we see academically. We want it to be specific, different, something we can't find elsewhere on your application. Now, that word different can be misleading. It doesn't mean different from anyone else. It means different from what you've already shared. So your application is full of accomplishments. That makes sense. What have you done? What kind of classes have you taken? What kind of scores have you gotten? But what they don't know is who you are. That's different. That's a different kind of information. And it is a kind of thing you can share in an essay. Myth number 2, colleges look for specific traits. They want to know that I am curious about academic things, or they want to know that I'm a problem solver. They want to know that I'm resilient. Those are all good traits, but there are no correct traits. So if someone gives you a list of positive qualities and says, pick the ones that really describe you, and then write something that will share that, it can help, but it's a crutch. You have positive traits. If you ask anyone, what kind of person am I? They can tell you. If I asked you for 5 minutes, I spent 5 minutes with you and asked you to tell me a story about something that you're proud of, your best traits are going to show up in that story. So from Cornell, I don't have something specific in mind when I review essays. I don't know what I want to read, but I do want you to reflect to the best of your ability in your answer to any prompt so I can get to know you a little better as I review your application. So it's not specific qualities. It is share positive qualities. Help us understand who you are. Myth number 3, essays should be polished. Like I said before, you don't want to be sloppy, but polishing them to within an inch of their life. And parents, this one is for you. Do not over edit your child's essay. And students, this is also for you. Do not let anybody over edit your essay, and do not do what one of our students did this year and write the essay yourself beautifully and then put it in Claude or ChatGPT or something else and say, can you improve this? All you're doing is changing it. You're not making it better. In fact, when we've had students do that, we've said to them very respectfully, show me the one that you put into the chatbot, and we show them how it's different, but it's not better. They don't have to be perfect. Your story told in your voice and your words. By the way, as we go along, if you have questions, please do put them in the chat Q&A so that we can answer them. By the time we're done, I'm going to save time for questions, and I would love to hear yours. Should they be polished? No. From Duke University, you are a high school senior, and you should sound like one. Not your mom, not your dad, not your English teacher, and certainly not one of the most revered writers of all time. I wish I saw more of a thoughtful voice of a 17-year-old. I hear this a lot from admissions officers. They say, I know they're 17. I know they're high school seniors. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. It's refreshing. Now, you might say, I'm such a strong writer. I don't sound like the typical 17-year-old. I have worked with strong writers who are 17 years old, and they sound like eloquent 17-year-olds. If I go back and look at their work a few years later when they're done with college, that work sounds more mature. So even as a senior, even if you're a strong writer, you will still sound like a young person. And if you think you're not a great writer, it's okay. You still have something important to share. It doesn't have to be perfect. Myth number 4, impressive topics stand out. I have to write about climbing a mountain or starting a company or raising $1 million for a nonprofit. No, you don't. You can write about anything. I'll share a few examples in a minute. From Johns Hopkins, the essay does not have to be about something huge or some life-changing events. Students think they need a monumental experience, but the essay can be about something small. It doesn't mean it has to be about something small, but it can be about something small. And you need to remember that. So let me tell you a story about 2 siblings. I had them as students. They were my students a year apart. Both of them had been with their family on a trip, an amazing life once in a lifetime trip where they climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Pretty big deal, impressive, monumental experience, right? The first one, the older sibling, the brother, came to me, and this is what he wanted to write about. And so I asked my usual questions. I said, well, you said these are some of your positive qualities. How did you demonstrate them on this trip? He didn't really have an answer. I said, well, what was it about this trip that you want to write about? And he said, well, I mean, it was so cool and it was so exciting. And like, no one's ever done that. That's so unique. They'll really notice me. I said, so tell me about the climb. And he said, it was pretty good until we got to the last day and the last part of the trip. And I couldn't make it to the summit. I said, oh, that sounds really disappointing. What happened? He says, well, I have asthma. And for the last 3 days, I would wake up and I wanted to try the summit, but I couldn't breathe. So I had to stay at our base camp. And then the next day I'd get up and I would try it again. I said, not terribly impressive. In fact, it kind of makes me question your judgment that, maybe this wasn't safe for you. I'm assuming that you were safe. I don't think your parents would let you do this if it wasn't. But I don't know. It doesn't demonstrate anything about who you are. It only tells me what you've done. So he understood this because we had spent some time making sure they understood the prompt. And then he came up with another topic. At this moment, I can't even remember what it was, but it was so normal and just such a beautiful, plain, normal topic. And he got into great schools, got into some really amazing schools and was very successful. Next year, his sister comes. She wants to write about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go again. But in her case, when I asked her, so tell me about the climb and what was impressive about it, she said, well, we got to the last couple of days and my friend who we were with, it was two families who were on this trip together. My friend who we were with was really having a hard time and he was struggling. And he's my friend and I care about him and I wanted him to be able to, to be successful and feel confident. I was the fastest one on the trip. I was the strongest. I was the most fit. I was the one who was going to make it to the top first, but I didn't. Because for the last couple of days, I stayed with him. And every time he needed to take a break, I took a break. And if I felt like he wasn't taking enough breaks, we stopped together. And I said, there you go. That shows your compassion. It shows problem solving skills. It shows all kinds of positive things about you as a person. The fact that it happened on Mount Kilimanjaro is not important. This could have happened on a hill down the street from your grandmother's house, and it would have been just as effective. So it doesn't have to be about, you don't have to have done something impressive. You don't have to manufacture experiences. You can be a real person with real experiences and write great college essays. Myth number 5, don't write about sports, religion, race, mental health, service trips, etc., etc., etc. Any topic can be effective. When I have students who want to write about a mental health challenge, I say, well, what do you want them to know about you? That you are anxious? That is not something, I mean, not that you can't share it. They know there's a lot of anxiety on college campuses. We'll say, no, I want them to know that I can overcome a challenge. So I'll say, all right, tell me about a time when you felt anxiety creeping up on you, but it didn't take over. See, that's not a story about anxiety. That's a story about overcoming a challenge. But a student who says, I just want them to know that I really struggled, but I'm okay. But, be careful. Again, think of what you want them to know. What do you want them to know about you that they can't find out from the rest of your application? Same thing goes with politics. Do you want to just present your position? That's interesting, but it's not necessarily going to help an admissions officer decide whether you should attend their college. But if, as one of my students did, he had a political discussion with his driver's ed instructor who completely disagreed with him on an important issue, but he did it respectfully and with curiosity, that demonstrated that he's curious. It demonstrated that he's respectful. It demonstrated that he's able to have challenging conversations with people. So think about any topic can be effective because what really matters is having a process, a plan, and a schedule. Now, that's not more important than what you write about. But if you follow a process, and I'm going to share mine, and if you have a plan, and if you keep yourself to a decent schedule, a modest schedule, you can write comfortably and any topic can work. So process. Okay. Like I said, my company's name is Wow Writing Workshop. We have the Wow method, 10 steps. We have used these 10 steps. Thousands of students have followed these 10 steps. Many of them have been our students. Many of them have been our client students. Many of them are from schools we've worked with. Here's the magic here. Let me show you something. Most people skip step 1. They skip it completely. And why do I need to understand the prompt? Because if you start brainstorming ideas before you confirm that you understand the prompt, there's no confirmation that you really get it. And this is where people get into trouble. My first student who wanted to write about Mount Kilimanjaro, he was trying to be impressive. When I went back and said, do you understand the prompt? Let's make sure you really understand the prompt and the purpose of this essay. He changed direction. So our process goes through 10 steps. The green is content. We don't have students write a first draft until step 5. The purple here is adding structure. This is where the essay as a piece of writing starts to matter. And the final 2 steps are polish. Content first. No matter what you do, content first. This will really make a difference. So when I say you need a plan, what does that mean? Well, by plan, I mean, where are you applying? Do you have a good list? Make sure you have a good list. Don't just randomly apply to schools and cross your fingers. Not a good strategy. What does your summer look like? What kind of time do you have? How motivated are you? How much time are you really going to spend on this? Is your dream school an impossible reach, or is it really somewhere that you're qualified for? Do you feel like, no, you know what, my state university, that's okay with me. I'm good with that. I need to write a couple of college essays, but I think I'm okay. How motivated are you to really put the time in? That matters. Be realistic about it. And like I said, make sure you have a good list. A good list is going to help you get in. A great college essay, an effective college essay, will help you make your case at that school that you're qualified for. And sometimes it's just impossible math. There's too many applicants, too many are qualified, and an essay can help. It can make a difference. I don't like you to think that it's going to vault you over the wall and get you in if you're not qualified, but it can really help. And if you have a process, a plan, and a schedule, you'll be successful. Now, this is my schedule. This is a snippet of a 4-week schedule we use with our students. Momentum is your friend. If you start, finish. Do not start in May and then keep working on your college essay till October. Not a good idea. Now, by this, I mean your Common App personal statement. You might be writing essays from May till October if you're applying to a lot of schools and you have a lot of supplemental essays to write. But the first essay, which we consider the teaching essay, the Common App personal statement, start it and finish it. Our students finish in about 4 weeks. Why? Because every exercise, every message, every assignment has a purpose. Like I said, my background is in instructional design. I create workshops that give students work they can do in time that they can do it. And I teach my colleagues to do this too. So when you're working on your own, and I'm telling you, whether you work with me or not, this is not a sales pitch. I'm telling you, have a schedule. If you're going to go to band camp in the middle of it, take a break. Don't think that you're going to be working on this up to the day you leave, and then the day you come back, you're going to start again. Be realistic, and having several weeks where you are consistently available. I mean, you can be working, you can be doing all kinds of things, but when you're consistently available, you will work on it. If you think you're going to go be a camp counselor and on your days off, you're going to work on your college essays, if that happens, I want you to send me an email and tell me that you did it, because I have never seen anybody do it, because there are other things going on and those things are important. Things are very important. So be realistic about the kind of time you're going to spend. So let me give you a little taste of how we work. And you can use this you'll read this in our book. You can do this on your own. Here's a taste of the well method. We're going to start with content. First, step 1, I said, this is what so many people skip. Do not skip this. This is, you could say, understand the prompt and purpose. How does the essay fit into the application? It's important to pay attention to that. How does it fit into the application? What do they already know about you? Accomplishments. I said that before, right? The application is full of accomplishments. Where do you go to school? What kind of classes have you taken? What have your grades been? What kind of scores did you get on your APs if you took them? Did you go to an IB school? Did you go to an AP school? Did you travel? Did you live in other places while you were going to high school? Did your parents go to university? All of these things, some of them are accomplishments and they're already in the application. They are quantitative pieces of information, quantitative data. But what else do you want them to know about you? These are your best characteristics. Who are you beyond what you've accomplished? So, for example, let's say you're the captain of the tennis team. That's an accomplishment. That's terrific. But your characteristics will help me understand what kind of captain you are. Remember, I said some people will say, don't write about sports. You can write about sports. If all you ever do is sports, you can write about sports because most of your important experiences will happen on a court or on a field or on the way to a game or a tournament. That's okay. But remember that the purpose of the application in my tennis example is not to share that you're the captain of the tennis team. They know that. It's to show what kind of captain you are. So maybe you're the kind of captain who's always gotten everything they ever wanted. You've always been the star. And this year, you had a co-captain, and it was challenging. And you didn't always see eye to eye, and you had to compromise. You've never had to compromise because you're always the best and you're always number one. That shows me what kind of captain you are. And you would tell a story about an experience you had, right? Maybe you're the kind of captain who was never supposed to be captain. You've never been captain of anything. But the person who was supposed to be captain moved to Florida at the end of sophomore year. And all of a sudden, here you are, captain of the tennis team, much to your surprise. Your coach believes in you. Your teammates like you. You've never been this kind of a leader. Tell me about an experience you had. Tell me about a time when you did something that was outside of your comfort zone. You're both team captains, but you're different kind of people with different kinds of experiences and characteristics. This is the prompt of the Common App personal statement. Now, if you've seen the Common App, you will have seen this, right? There's 7 questions, power possibilities, but I want you to look at this first. These are the instructions for the Common Application personal statement. As of the last time I looked, they're only available if you are in the Common Application, like in the application. I have talked to people at the Common App and said, every time you post the 7 options, you really should include this because this is the real prompt. They told me they might do it. I don't know if they have. The essay demonstrates your ability to write clearly and concisely on a selected topic and helps you distinguish yourself in your own voice. There's that word voice again. What do you want the readers of your application to know about you apart from courses, grades, and test scores? Choose the option that best helps you answer that question and write an essay of no more than 650 words using the prompt to inspire and structure your response. What do you want the readers of your application to know about you apart from courses, grades, and test scores? That's the prompt. Tell us who you are beyond what you've done. And then they say, choose the option that best helps you answer that question. So there's not a best option. There's not, and none of these are better than others. I'm going to take you through a couple of them to illustrate what I'm talking about. So we say that every effective essay has a theme. The theme, what happened and why does it matter? What are you telling me and why are you telling me this? No matter what kind of essay. It's easiest to explain and teach for the Common App personal statement. That is our teaching essay. And then once we've taught that, once a student really understands the process, then we apply those concepts to all other essays and writing tasks. So let's look at option number 1. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. Background, identity, interest, or talent. Doesn't matter which one. A background, this is where my family comes from. This is what my history is. Identity, this is who I am. This is something about my identity. An interest, I like stamps. I'm interested in turtles. I like to bake. An interest or a talent. I'm a dancer. I'm a great chess player. I can juggle. These are all talents. They don't care which one. You have to remember, people created these questions and they've been used for years and years now because they work, because they're doors and windows that allow so many different kinds of students to all answer that original prompt. What do you want us to know about you beyond your grades and scores and all of that? The why does it matter? It's so meaningful that your application would be incomplete without it. So you know what? The fact that I can do X, Y, Z, or my identity of some sort, or my family background, or this whatever it is that I'm interested in. I love politics. I'm so fascinated by it. If that is you, then tell us your story. Now, let's say that's not your prompt. Let's take one more as an example. Number two, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. So they're interested in an obstacle and what happened later. The what happened has two parts. Here's the challenge. Here's what happened later. Recount a time, one time when you faced a challenge, a setback, or a failure. A challenge, something was difficult. A setback, I was moving forward and then something set me back. Or a failure, it completely didn't work. The cake fell, the engine didn't work. I lost the final match of now I'm with my tennis player again. A failure. Or maybe that's a setback, or maybe that's a challenge, depending on the person. Why does it matter? How did it affect you? And what did you learn? This question has a lot of parts. We're taking lessons from an obstacle. The obstacle can be small or large. It also needs to lead to later success. What did I learn? So maybe that's you. It doesn't matter. So there's 6 of them here. Number 7 is share an essay on the topic of your choice. Not my favorite. I am not a fan. I'm not opposed to it. But I will tell you that as long as you can balance a prompt, one of these 6, at least one positive characteristic, and an anchor story, something that's going to help me understand who you are, it can work. So we say that step 2, so that was all step 1. That's all step 1. If I can take students through that and confirm that they really understand the prompt, now we're ready to talk ideas. Anchor story. Give me a story. It may or may not be the complete essay. For some students, that anchor story is the whole essay. The time I did X. The day I tried to build my own computer, finished building my own computer, and the whole thing totally fell apart. The time I made a gorgeous cake for my sister's birthday, and no one had ever seen a cake like it before, and everyone took pictures and put it on Instagram, and now I'm cake famous. That's a story. Characteristics. What does it illustrate about you? What are the details? And consider several possibilities before deciding. By considering either several different prompts or several different stories for the same prompt or several different characteristics that you're illustrating, it helps kind of mix things up for you a little bit and not just be so focused on one idea or the thing that your dad thinks you should write about or the thing that's similar to what your cousin who got into your dream university wrote about. Still working on content, and we haven't written a draft yet. Focus on theme. Be very clear. What happened? Why does it matter? Anchor story. What am I going to write about? And why am I telling you this? What characteristics or positive traits does it illustrate? This changes everything. If you don't learn anything from me today, do these things. Make sure you understand the prompt. Consider several ideas. And when you settle on one, we do this through a structured brainstorming discussion. We spend an hour with our students going through several criteria that help us decide what they should write about. And often it's not one of the 4 ideas they came up with. Sometimes those are just conversation starters. But when they're done, they have a theme. They know what they're going to write about and why. You can do this. You can do this. Make sure you know before you start writing what you want to write about and why. And if the why is because it's impressive or unique, that's not a good enough why. Make sure you have at least one positive characteristic as part of your why. So like I said before, understand the prompt, step 1. Step 2, brainstorm ideas. Step 3, focus on theme. Then we ask students to free write and then to write the first draft, the content draft. Then we go through writing exercises. Step 6 is reviewing the content. Step 7 and 8, focus on structure. How will I start? How will I move through it? How do I end? And finally, steps 9 and 10 are all about polish. Most people, and this goes for all kinds of people I respect, people I adore, most counselors, most English teachers, most parents, most students, most everybody starts with step 2, jumps to step 5. They brainstorm ideas. They say, come back and bring me a draft. And then they do kind of a mashup of our steps 8 through 10. They go right to the first sentence. I'm not sure if this first sentence works. Maybe you want to start here. We make sure the content is solid, and I would encourage you to do this too. if you're going to show your essay to someone, say, here's what I'm writing about and here's why. What content is missing? Don't tell me how to revise it. That's not what I'm asking for. That's for later. So, college essay do's. Remember, this was do's and don'ts. Do follow instructions. Do answer the prompt. I know that may seem ridiculous, but yes, answer the prompt. Do write about yourself. Show reflection. Be authentic. Be who you are. This is a word I hear all the time. So I just did a couple of sessions at some regional conferences for school counselors and admissions representatives, independent counselors. And I had a lot of admissions officers in my session. I was talking about AI, and I can talk a little bit about that here also, about AI in college essays and how they should think about it. And they kept saying, I want them to be authentic. I'm looking for authentic. I said, I'm looking for authenticity. I said, well, what does that mean to you as a reader? You all say, be authentic, be authentic, be authentic. What does that mean? And they said, I just want to hear, like I said in the quote I shared before, I just want to hear them speak in their own voice. I just want them to talk to me. That's it. And that's real. They don't need you to sound like some polished, college graduate. They want you to sound like you. Now, if you are, like I said before, if you're a polished writer, that's okay. It'll show up in the rest of your application in other ways as well, through the kinds of classes you've taken and the things you've done. Be authentic, highlight a positive trait, at least one, write it yourself, and use your own voice and words. These are things that you want to do. Successful students do these things. Don't focus on someone else. Don't think that you have to emphasize accomplishments. Don't be negative. I had a student once, total negative, 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 negative. He was very adamant. This was the story he needed to tell. I said, without saying this to him, I thought, he sounds like a jerk. And what we had to do was kind of refocus the essay. I said, I know that what you mean is this, but you don't sound so, it doesn't sound like that. You sound full of yourself. You sound like you're not just confident, you're cocky. And I don't think that's what you want. He was a nice guy. And it sounded too negative. He was angry about something in his essay. I said, let's take the anger out and focus on the positive. You can say why you have these, you can talk about how, your outrage led you to this point, but let's focus on the positive thing you did. Remember, this is not an op-ed for a newspaper. This is not a blog. This is not an article you're going to post on the internet. This is not a video that you're making for TikTok. It's a college essay. It has a specific purpose, and you need to understand the prompt and the purpose. Don't write what you think colleges want. Don't plagiarize or rely on AI. Do not imitate samples. Now, this is hard. There are a lot of samples out there. You could say sample essays for students who got into Yale University, and you can find, I don't even know how many. I can't count how many. And you could take them all and look at them and read them all and try to figure out what was the same or different about them. There are companies that have done this. There are AI tools out there that have done this. All the essays, essays from kids who are successful getting into this school or that school, it's still not going to help you write an essay that's going to get you into that school. Because samples, we imitate samples without even meaning to. We think we want them for inspiration. If you're writing an essay in school, let's take an AP Lang class, for example, and you are writing a certain type of essay, yes, you want to see models, because there are structural things, there are ways that there are different techniques that are used. That's important. You need to learn that. Those rhetorical tools, you need to learn them. Samples can help you with that. But a college essay, it's you on the page. You can't imitate it. You can't model it after someone else's. It needs to come from you. That's why we focus on content first. That's why I really emphasize that you make sure you know what you want to write about and why. And the same goes for supplemental essays. You want to apply to a school that says, why do you want to come here? Why do you want this major? Don't pick a major just because you think it's the one that's going to get you in. Pick the major that's really interesting to you and explain why. Also, don't believe everything you hear. There's a lot of garbage out there. I had a conversation with a really delightful young man, a recent college graduate, who had this very cool app. for students who are about to start college. It was really interesting what he's doing. I think they're doing great work. And we were talking about the the content they put out to try to attract people to their website and their app. And he said to me, "Can you share some good college essay articles? Because most of our stuff is just it's AI garbage." He knew it. So he didn't mean to mislead anyone. It wasn't going to like damage anybody, but it wasn't good. It wasn't good stuff. And he knew it. So be careful. And finally, don't rely on tools. Rely on your knowledge and people. You can use them. They're helpful. Excuse me. Recently, my email has been trying to make grammar recommendations. I'm a professional writer. I've been a professional writer for 35 years. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this is making my head explode. So I turned the feature off. But I thought if I was a student and everywhere I went, everything I do, everything I type, I'm getting grammar suggestions and revision suggestions, I might start believing it. And I'm telling you, they're not smarter than you. You can use your words. Your words work. So again, here's the QR code for our book. I hope you'll download a copy. You'll get some emails from us if you do. And if you want to stay on our list, great. And if you don't want to stay on our list, that's okay too. And here's how you find us. There's the QR code again if you need it. There's Applerouth contact info@applerouth.com. Susan at wowwritingworkshop.com. I have about 10 more minutes and I'd love to answer your question.
Great, because we got some questions. So the first one, what if you don't really know what you want the colleges to know?
Very
Very
good.
meta,
Okay.
very existential.
Now it's a good question. So it's not where we start. And I'm glad that you picked up on it. We start with explaining what the prompt means. You can do this for any prompt. Comment at personal statement, University of California personal insight questions, supplements for any school. You need to make sure that you understand the prompt. So here are the 3 questions that we ask to confirm that someone understands the prompt. Then I'm going to answer your question directly. Question number 1, what's the purpose of this prompt? Because I've already explained it. In our method, when we work with students, we show them a brief video. We have a web page they read. We have a writing exercise they do. And in the writing exercise, there's 3 questions. 1, what does the prompt mean? And we're checking for understanding. I'm an educator. So everything I do has an objective and has some way that I'm checking for understanding. So question number 1 is, what does the prompt mean? If the answer is it's to show how unique I am or how I can stand out, I know that I need to correct their understanding up front. Question number 2, what do they already know about you? And I have examples, scores, grades, da 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 da. So they'll say, oh, I have a 4.3. I got such and such on the SAT. I took 7 AP classes in the last 3 years. Great. What would you like them to know about you? And here I say characteristics. They don't have to be, you don't have to be, you can say I'm a hard worker. You can say I love a good problem. You can say anything positive. And when you say I don't know, then the next question is, if I asked your best friend what kind of person you are, what would they say? Most people can answer that question. Or if I asked your mom what kind of person you are, what would she say? Those answers might be the same, they might be different. But what I'm asking you to do, if you can't, you don't have to think of the perfect thing that you want to convey. I'll tell you a secret. If you can, well, it's not really a secret. If you can think of at least one positive characteristic and you can tell a story that illustrates that, that story will illustrate other positive characteristics as well. You don't have to create like the perfect model. And especially for selective universities that have supplemental questions, you're going to have lots of opportunities. That becomes a strategic package of multiple essays that will all share different aspects of who you are. So it's in there. You just need to not put the pressure on yourself. You just need to think about, what kind of person am I? What am I like? And that's good enough.
Thank you. Somebody else asked for common application question number 1. When they say interests, is it okay to talk about what you are interested in studying in college, or do they specifically mean interests as in hobbies and activities?
Good. It can be either. They're not asking, what do you want to study? If they want to know that, they will ask, because there are questions, there are supplemental questions that we call why us essays or why this major or why this program. If they want to know what you want to study, what you're interested in to study, they'll ask. But if your interest is also something that you might want to study, I'm really interested in space. I'm fascinated by how, engines work. I care about renewable energy. I'm fascinated by English literature. Sure. Yeah, as long as you can demonstrate it. In this case, what they're asking for is show us who you are by sharing an interest. It's not a trick. They're not trying to, you can't, like I said, you can share something that you'd be interested in studying, but it's not like you have to show this, intellectual breadth in this question, and that's the only kind of interest that matters. They can be either one.
Perfect. Thank you. And what if I'm a bad writer and my essay gets pinged or tagged as AI generated by the college's search tool, but it's not, it's just my writing style? What do you
Yeah,
recommend then?
I'll tell you, they're not doing that much of that. The tools are imperfect. I wouldn't worry too much about it. People are concerned. There are stories. Like I said, don't believe everything you hear. This is the stories we used to hear, and I hear them still occasionally, are my neighbor's daughter got into fill in the blank, the University of Michigan, with a 3.7 and a 14 for ACT, and that's excessive. That's hyperbole. My kid got X, da 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 da. And I say, you know what? There's more to the story than you think. And I'm not even sure that that's true. So, what I'm saying is the same thing about AI issues. It is highly unlikely that they're going to flag it and say this was not generated by a human. People are still reading applications. Some schools are using AI to do an initial screening. Especially, I've been hearing a little bit more about this, especially I think in schools where the essay matters, but not that much. They're not judging you on it. It's more like, yes, a high percentage of our students get it. At the more selective universities, they're using a holistic process. They are reading everything, they're putting the pieces together, and they're not trying to catch you in the act. They're not like police trying to find out, oh my God, what's the chance, what's the chance that this is AI? People will put these into these tools to say, does this look like it was AI generated even if it wasn't? And then they're alarmed because it says it was. The tools are imperfect. We are at a stage, and this is actually something that I read a lot about and I talk to people about who are experts all the time. We are in an age when those tools are still in development. So I'll give you another example. The AI college essay tools, they're everywhere. I've tested them all. I've talked to the people who create them. I recently talked to someone from a very large company, which has a huge reputation, is very successful. And I said, so you have this college essay coaching review tool. How'd you make it? I said, now I'm not looking for your trade secrets. What was the data that went in to teach it how to be a college essay reader? And he said, we're very proud of that. We have thousands of essays from the past years and what school they got into. And then we use like a Socratic method to ask students questions. And I thought, I've been telling people not to read sample essays for 17 years. That's not a thing. Just because these 7 essays were written by students who got into UC Berkeley, that doesn't mean that if you write an essay like that, you are more likely to get into that school. That's not how it works. So I say it's not that you shouldn't think about this. I'm not saying, oh, don't worry about it. I'm saying that we're in an age where the tools are imperfect. The methods that they're using to build them are still kind of being developed. They're still testing them. They may be using them and maybe not trusting them 100%. So you're okay. Write your essay as a real person, show it to a real person, make sure it sounds like you, and you're probably going to be fine.
What a relief. And this just in, and just a reminder, if anybody does have questions, if you just put your mouse over your screen, the little Q&A Chat bubble box should pop up along the bottom because somebody asked, how do I ask a question? So to answer that question, I guess you figured it out because you asked how to ask. Just put the Q&A, click the Q&A and type it in. But somebody said, we've toured a lot of schools and they claim to be receiving over 40,000 freshman applications. Whew, that's competitive. As a practical matter, how are they possibly reading each individual essay?
Excellent. Here's what I'm told. 40,000 applicants? Wow. Okay. I'm very curious to know
I
who
want to know
said
what
that.
school that
I
is.
want to know what school is getting 40,000 applicants, but possible. Um, some very, very large freshman classes, I guess. So here's how are they possibly reading it? They're reading fast. They're reading fast. And that's actually why your essay doesn't have to be perfect. They're not sitting there with red pen in hand. I've talked to some admissions officers who are very accomplished writers and speakers and care about the English language. And even they say, I am not checking your grammar. I am reading fast. And remember, especially at the most selective schools, especially the school that's getting 40,000 applications, there are levels and layers of readers. So the first readers are generally recent graduates who love their school, who want to like you, who have a territory, whether that's, depending on what it is, it could be just the three schools in your county, it could be your state, it could be your whole region, depending on, where the school is and where you are. And they're reading quickly and thoroughly. They have checklists, they have methods for looking at things. There's certain pieces of information that their programs can give them, the systems that they're using to receive applications. So no, they're not sitting there for 10 minutes reading your applications. They're reading very, very quickly. And if they're getting that many applications, then they have a really big staff. Some of these organizations are really large. So like I like to say, the essay is not going to vault you over the wall, but it can get it can get the attention of someone who's reading a lot of things very quickly.
I like it. Make it pithy and use all of the advice that you gave tonight. And speaking of making it pithy, someone asked, I have friends who are doing awesome, exciting things like going abroad and going on safaris to find their herd, etc. And meanwhile, I'm doing research with a college professor on something I'm interested in, but how do I make it interesting in a college
Mhm.
essay to write about?
Great question. So there's a lot of summer programs. I work with some of these folks who have research programs or mentorship programs or founders programs. You're going to invent something or start a company, all kinds of ideas. And there's all kinds of interesting things you can do over the summer. If you do those things because you're interested in them, you can write about the experience. I got to do research. I got to work in a lab. It was so interesting. Here's what I liked about it. Or here's a day when nothing worked and my lunch was spoiled and my mentor wasn't available and our experiment isn't working. And I went home and I took a deep breath and I went for a swim and I took my dog for a walk and I thought, you know what? It was a good day. That can be a great essay too. And it's not about the research, it's not about the experience. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Who you are comes through in everything you do. Who you are comes through when you're with a relative and you're helping them. Who you are comes through when you're with your friends. Who you are comes through when you're doing your extracurricular activities or your summer programs. And that's what matters. Find something that illustrates who you are, and it doesn't matter what the experience is.
Love that. And we have time for one or two more. So, someone just asked, what if they don't really have a ton of extracurriculars and the few that they do, due to time and motivation and lots of extrinsic factors, just aren't that deep as far as involvement,
Mhm,
leadership roles, etc.?
mhm. That's okay. So, even schools that ask about leadership, even the schools that ask about leadership, you can be a leader in many different ways. You do not have to be the head of the team, the one who started the program. That does not necessarily, you don't have to go deep. You can be a regular student. Regular students get to go to college and have amazing experiences. Most students are regular students. You are not alone. It may seem like everybody else is having these deep experiences. Regular people who do regular things. And by the way, someone did say that UGA received 51,600 apps and UVA received over 64,000. So 40 was not excessive. My information is out of date. Thanks for the update. I'm still catching up on 2025 applications. And probably that's part of what you're going to have in your reflection on the past year webinar. So you all should go to that. So I lost my train of thought. I want to tell you a story. I have one last story. I have a student who came to me and said, I'm not a great writer, and had some pretty interesting ideas for his application essay when he came to me. One of them had to do with lobbying on Capitol Hill. One of them had to do with some volunteer experience. They were pretty impressive. And I thought, wow, pretty nice. And we went through them one by one. There was nothing there. These were his family's best stories about him. They sounded really interesting. I said, so you went lobbying on Capitol Hill. That must have been great. Well, it was with my mom, and this is something that she does, and da 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 da. Da. Oh, and I was 12. I said, well, I don't know. What was that day like? It's like, well, I got to talk to a lot of people, and I love talking to people, and I'm really curious, and I'm always interested in new people and new ideas. And I said, all right, tell me about a time recently when you were curious and interested in talk to someone. And then he told, that was my driver's ed story. He was the one who said, oh, well, I was in driver's ed. We had a new driving instructor. I'd never met him before. And he's just this old guy I've never met. And something controversial had happened, political had happened in our town. And I just asked him what he thought. And it was such a cool conversation because we totally disagreed. But by the time we were done, I felt like I kind of understood him differently. This is a student who turned out didn't have a ton of deep experiences, but he manufactured it for the application because his mother helped him. But when we really got down to it, his basic normal experience on a basic normal day really illustrated who he was. And it was great. So thanks for the opportunity, everyone. Really great to be here with you. I hope that you'll get in touch if you have more questions or need more information.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this invaluable information, Susan. And seriously, everybody should check out Wow Writing Workshop. I've had so many amazing conversations with Susan. Each one is better than the previous one. She is just a wealth of writing and essay information and knowledge and intel. So if you haven't written your college personal statement, or if you have, and if you just want to be a better writer, use her resources. They're amazing. And to the student who asked the question, who asked it anonymously, that Susan just answered, I think the May 6th workshop will be so perfect for you, because that is one of the things they are specifically going to talk about: how college admissions directors view extracurriculars, and why, you don't have to have the best and the greatest. I don't think I'd get into college today if they were, viewing my application, because there are just better ways to craft essays using somebody like Susan. So I think May 4th and 6th will be a great 1-2 punch. If you didn't click the button for us to register, you can just go to applerouth.com/events/webinars. They're all there. They're all free. So that's fun. We love free resources just like this one tonight. So thank you again, everybody, for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday evening. Bye.